Welcome to Home Dad Chat, brought to you by the National At Home Dad Network. My name is Brock,
My name is Danny.
and we are here to talk about life as stay at home dads. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
No, I don't want much. I even love handmade crafts made of macaroni. Come on now, you should know me. Times I might eat too much. No worry about my weight. Got the dad bod rocking on me. Sketches on my feet. Cargo shorts look good on me. I'm a dad, that's what I do.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the show. Hope you're all having a good day. It's been a wild few days of recuperation from HomeDadCon, but it was good. It was real good. So hope you all are recovered as well, and that, lots of memories and things to talk about, which is what we're going to do on this show today. Right, Danny?
Right. We have so much to talk about, so we're trying to boil it down to the main highlights because there's so much that goes on at the convention. And we were just talking about a second ago, we could talk for 5 hours. We could do a different show for every single day, and that includes all the way back to Tuesday, which I think a lot of people don't really understand until they've been going to the convention for a while. So for San Antonio, we have our room block at the Drury Riverwalk, and the block is sold out for Tuesday.
No
Now,
way.
yeah, because we don't normally expect so many people to come in on Tuesday because the convention doesn't start until Thursday. So we were able to get a room block from the Drury, and we got it for Wednesday as well. And Tuesday sold out. And people are like, I can't get a room on Tuesday. I could, if I bump it to Wednesday, I could do it. Or if I call them, that I can do it. And it was really interesting because it has only been 3 days since the convention ended, 3 days. And I mean, this was yesterday. So there are people that can't get a room. I couldn't get a Tuesday. I mean, I can, but I had to do it. So Keith had to go in and add more rooms already.
Wow. Wow.
So just, yeah, the understanding a lot goes on before the convention starts, and people
That
don't realize
speaks,
that.
that does speak to what goes on prior to the actual official programming of the convention. So that is
Hmm.
awesome. I, you know, I to kind of go on Tuesday, just we all came in, there was a huge group, and we all hung out at Jeremy Hason's house for the evening. But prior to that, there were a few guys that I ended up going to a very sought after brewery,
Hmm.
which I came to find out after coming across a TikTok recently that actually that brewery is like the number one like sought after brewery in the country, just
Really?
because of what they put out. Yeah, it's a Side
Nice.
Project is the name of the brewery. I like it because it doesn't feel like a brewery when you walk in there. Like you could take your wife in there on a date, and like it's actually like their tap room is very like well done and dressed up. And so
Sweet.
and you have the occasional thing like a skeleton sitting in a corner, but of course it's around Halloween, so it makes sense. I don't know that
It
that's in there
works.
all the time, but I took a picture with him because we have skeletons at the brewery, and I sent it to my owner, and I said, "Hey, I'm having beers with Jerry's St. Louis cousin," and they were like, "We
Nice.
have cousins in St. Louis."
In
So
fact, we do.
yeah, but definitely, I think that definitely plays a factor in it because the amount of guys who came in and then
Hmm.
just had a great time just hanging out for the evening. I don't We don't really have anybody in San Antonio that will be doing something along those lines.
Not yet. Who knows?
Not
Come on,
yet.
guys.
Yeah, you never know. But obviously, the guys that are coming in early, they have their own plans in mind for what it is that they're looking to do.
Hmm. Yeah. And it was a surprise to me that Jeremy did, not really that he did it, but that he was doing it, I guess, because Jeremy's the kind of person who would absolutely do that. But I drove down with Kiba Freeman, and we got it. I was saying, we'll get in. Old man's going to need a rest. I'm gonna need a couch to sit on. I'm gonna need to calm down. And Jeremy said, well, we're gonna have a dinner party. And I'm like, oh, cool. I would love, yeah, of course we're gonna have dinner. And then no, he just jumped it, took it off the rails, and started cooking. And he's like marinating chicken and stuff the day before, 2 days before. He's got the full menu going. He had his smoker going, he had his grill going, and big campfire and all the sides. Had to borrow some crock pots and some things to keep food warm in his house, and it was very, very cool. And it's kind of what, Jeremy will do that. He is a great, hospitable person. And I do love that he did that for us, you
It was
know.
some great Midwest hospitality for sure.
Hmm.
Definitely. So yes, Tuesday
So,
was definitely just a lot of hanging out. Wednesday, there were groups that were going to go kayaking, and there was a group that did the brewery hop. I actually went up and picked up a new member at the airport prior to all of that, uh, and took Matt to pick up the van for kayaking, which all kind of worked out really well because who I went to pick up, which was Trey Tomes,
hmm.
is that he was going kayaking with them anyway. So kind of
How handy.
put him at ease a little bit, be like, hey, like you're here with the leader of the kayaking and he's gonna go pick up the van. So we're gonna drop him off to do that. Well, I'll run you to the hotel, which gives you even a more time to get situated before he comes with the van. So that worked out quite well. Uh, I decided not to at first to do any of those things activity wise. I chose to go play disc golf, and it was fun because
Hmm.
Aaron Smith got to come with or came with me, and it was just nice to get to spend one-on-one time with him and just enjoy walking like 3 miles through a park
Hmm.
throwing frisbees.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will say, I don't know if that was your favorite activity, like extracurricular activity of the convention. There was a lot going on. And again, dads, you need to get there early. We are doing stuff every day before the convention starts. So definitely get there early. But it's interesting that you say it and that you enjoyed it because my favorite extracurricular activity was also with Aaron Smith. We went and
Hmm.
where's everybody? We went and got a tattoo together.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about that for a couple of years, and we were going to do a Munchkin tattoo, just a dad styled Munchkin tattoo together to remind us, he got his, and I decided to do something different, which we were cool with. But just being there, I mean, and I call them tattoo parlors because I'm old, right? But it was Dead Sure Tattoos, and they're the best that I've ever experienced. I mean, we've got some great people local, and I've met people up in Wausau, which is close. But if you ever hear this, you're my favorite, absolutely. Um, B came in and just asked me what I wanted, which is cool. It's kind of what you expect. And then she started talking about what it was, and then I don't want to feel pain, right? I don't.
Yeah.
I just don't. I mean, I'm okay with it. If yeah, I gotta feel it, I feel it. I can get through it, but I don't want to. I just don't want to. I want to be comfortable these days. And it was just amazing the care that they took of us, and just being there in the same room and making jokes and making dad jokes. So I love it that you brought up that you went disc golf with him, because I went to get a tattoo with him,
I
and
mean,
I
I
gotta
pretty much
say,
spent the whole day with him.
yeah. He's great. He's great. He's really just an amazing, amazing dad and amazing human being.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I
so
really enjoy he was telling me that they have a new addition at the house too, so that was cool.
yeah, yeah,
And so he was doing the dad thing and showing me pictures on his phone. He's like and he was like apologize. I'm like, "Don't apologize for showing me pictures. That's
right.
no problem there, man."
Show me all your babies, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that was really cool. But yeah, I would say probably my favorite thing was extracurricular wise, was just getting to hang out with Aaron for the day, honestly,
Hmm.
because we did disc golf. We met up with everybody for the brewery hop as well. So it was just yeah, that was a lot of fun. I
Yeah.
definitely enjoyed that. So
So,
um
what would you say is your favorite presentation of
oh,
all the
favorite
things that you got
presentation.
to see, or even pieces of? Because I can tell you, it was tough for me to decide a favorite.
Yeah.
Um, Neil Lichter and we've had him on the show from Pathfinders for Autism out in Massachusetts, stepped up. I mean, just we already knew he was a great presenter. The board did because we talked to him already, and he had so many things going on. And I have rarely seen so many dads affected so deeply by what he talked about with uh, parenting children with ASD, you know,
Mm,
and things that I fortunately or unfortunately or fortunately learned the lesson previously about um, having to give your child the time that they need to respond to you, depending on where they are on that spectrum. And I have, I mean, broke my heart and the hearts of several dads I know, because we recognized that I'm yelling at my kid now because my kid's ignoring me. My kid's being disrespectful. My kid's not giving me that answer I need. And that's not what it is. They have other things going on. And Neil stood there and he asked, and Kyle Denny, man, I'm sorry it was you because I know that was frustrating. Gave Kyle a bucket full of ping pong balls with different things on them, just different words and ideas and stuff. And all Neil said was, I just want the address of the hotel we're at. And the only thing Kyle could answer is to pick up a ping pong ball. And he'd pick one up and he'd go, trains are brown. And he'd be like, yeah, but that's great. Trains are brown. We don't need to talk about that. I need to know the name of the hotel. And he'd pick up another one and he would be like, it's 17 minutes to the school. Yeah, that's great. We're not going to the school right now. I just need to know the answer to the hotel. And Neil is getting a little bit more, he's not actually frustrated, but pretending to be a little more frustrated with each question. And Kyle is just like, I can't do this. I cannot look for the answer in this big ball. And no, just pick a ping ball. You got to answer it. And it was so informative and so educational. And I know that I've done this to my kids in the past. And I go out into the lobby because I need a moment, and other dads come out in the lobby because they need a moment. And we're just bawling. We're just crying together because we've pushed our kids that are a little bit on the spectrum or wherever they are on the spectrum and want them to respond in a way that they don't have the ability to do it. It's that
Yeah.
frustration that they're feeling, that frustration that we're feeling. And honestly, I mean, I felt like a jerk, to be kind. I felt like an absolute ass. And I know other dads too, because we've been demanding these things or just getting frustrated. After 5 minutes of asking them for the hotel address, just like, why can't you do this? And it was amazing the number of dads that were affected by that.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite, but it is absolutely one of the most impactful presentations that I think I've ever been a part of.
It was definitely impactful. I agree. It was very also entertaining in a way, like just the way he
Yeah,
presented things and the
he
fact
was.
that
Yeah.
he's presented this to law enforcement,
Hmm.
and it just it was like it just kind of grabbed you and you were like, all right, like what's the next thing he's gonna do? Like that thing with the ping pong balls was both uh funny from the outside looking in. I can understand exactly like that Kyle was frustrated. Like when he picked him, I was just like, oh, Kyle, this is gonna wow. All right. And it went
You're going to be
exactly as
so frustrated
and
and
it went
embarrassed, I'm
exactly
sure.
as I expected it to, but what was even funnier about it was, or better about it was the fact that at one point he just started picking ping pong balls. I was like, that's not it. I'm not answering that. Like, he
Yeah.
just throwing them in
Yeah.
there. And Neil's like basically calling him out for not actually saying this. I'm
Yeah.
just looking for the freaking
Nope.
address.
Nope.
Where
Read
is
that
it?
one. Nope. Read that one. Nope. Read
Yeah.
that one. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that
It
one
was
was
great.
cool. Yeah, he did a lot of great little exercises. I like he just picked people and did, you know, little things here and there. And it was definitely eye-opening, that's for sure. I wrote some notes down to the one thing that I didn't really get a chance to ask him about, but I mean at the same time too, I think sometimes when people present things either that doesn't come out the right way or whatever it is, but
Hmm.
he had mentioned something about the way he said it was that ASD is a problem. And I was kind of like, but a problem is, something that like to me is something that you can fix, and ASD isn't really something that you can fix so much. It's something you have to work around. And so
Hmm.
I didn't really get a chance to sit down and talk with him much on that, but I did think about it quite a bit because I think for some people that's what they probably think that it is. It's something that is fixable. Like there's got to be a solution to this, and really the only solution is we need to take a step back as parents and realize that our kid is not going to function maybe the same way as we want them to.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's okay.
And he,
We, yeah.
and he did make mention of when he started, it's like, so why is this talk for you if you don't have a kid that has ASD? Like I have one kid that's potentially, but it's just a few sensory issues, and that's it. Um, a couple of my kids though are neurospicy. They are like ADHD is one of them. And talking about not only yourself, but people or people that are in your larger circles, and that people that just don't think like you do. And when you're talking about children, recognizing what you just said, that I
Hmm.
might have to adjust the way I talk or the demands I make or the things that I ask of my child. And they're not lazy. They're not disrespectful. They're not belligerent. They just don't process this information the same way that I do or that
Yeah.
we do. And I
Well,
think
we've had a
that was
lot more
just
time.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I mean, we've had a lot more time to develop our brains and our,
Hmm.
different things like that too. So that's another side of it. Sometimes I think we forget as adults, like, we have fully developed brains and can think through things in a way that our children can't and are,
Right.
learning all the time. So definitely. I would say though my favorite one that I enjoyed going to was Philip Andrews' breakout session on starting a business.
Yeah.
Um, I think for me, just where I am currently and kind of my thought process towards future endeavors, it was good to sit in on that. He's got a lot of knowledge, and I really appreciated just the time that he took to present on that. I got a lot of just, I took a lot of notes in there just to kind of help me with sort of next steps for some things that I'm looking at doing and how do I go about that. And it was great to be able to talk with him a little bit afterwards and just, thank him for coming and presenting. And I said, I remember I shared with everybody at one point that I'm looking to try to build sort of a grant writers team for some things and
Hmm.
go that route. And I told him that I would be reaching out to him for as sort of a kind of a mentorship type of deal of like, hey man, like I need somebody that understands this business world of things because I it's a new realm for me. And he
Hmm.
was very open to, hey, yeah, just give me a call and we can talk things through. So I really appreciated that. And I got a lot out of it too. I wasn't sure what it was gonna exactly what it was gonna be, but it really fit kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. So, we can edit this. So if this gets uncomfortable, you starting your own podcast, man?
No, that's not
You
what I'm
sure?
doing.
You sure? You're leaning
Yeah.
in, man.
Nope.
You gonna tell me what you're gonna do?
Well, I mean, the grant writers thing with like the fatherhood
Uh-huh.
stuff. So there's a lot to it.
All right.
It
Well, when you're
involves
ready,
basically
let's talk about it.
it involves getting grant writers together to be able to go to nonprofits and be like, "Hey, you're saying you're struggling to get money. You
Hmm.
need probably a grant writer." I and having an actual business plan set up to be able to say, I can connect you with this grant writer. It's going to cost this much to get for them to get started on the research side of things and get the grant put together. And then once they get it put together, the agreement that we would have a contract for also states that if you are awarded X amount of dollars, anywhere from 1 to 3%, which would be agreed upon before, would then be also cut as a check to pay for the other, like writing it and everything else.
Hmm.
And the rest of the money goes to the nonprofit.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
what I'm working on because
Cool.
not just for us, but for all the other
No.
fatherhood things
Hmm.
out there. So, and
Yeah.
also too for churches and other organizations that are trying to build fatherhood programs and just basically shoestringing it. And here's a
And
way for them to get real tangible cash.
and volunteer run organizations like ours,
Yeah.
and we don't have the skills to write a grant. We just don't. We
Yeah.
we have a lot of skills, but most of us are just dads. So that's awesome, dude.
And which
I'm
I
glad
said
to hear
too, the
about it.
guys that I talked about was I was like, I'm sick and tired of hearing people ask for volunteer grant writers when grant writers are a very skilled thing, and
Hmm.
it's time consuming. And so the reason we aren't getting, and this was like a thing I was having a conversation with somebody about, but the reason that we're not getting grant writers to actually jump on board is that they know how time consuming it is, and it's just not worth their time to
Hmm.
volunteer doing it, and not getting any kind of compensation in return for it. So
Yeah.
I want to turn the tide on that a little bit. So yeah.
Cool. 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 Cool.
All
I
right.
think it's
So
great. You know, I'm all for you. Yeah. So
so what?
my
Yeah. What's your
favorite,
favorite?
my favorite was with Amy Dell and Jordan Brown. They are based here in Wisconsin. They have their own psychology practice, and they were here last year, and they did a breakout for us in Milwaukee, and they returned to St. Louis because they really understand that there's a lot of stuff that they can help teach us, both about ourselves and about our kids. And not just like me, how to deal with CPTSD. Okay, cool. That's a discussion, but more about the stress of our job, the thing we run into every day. And I'm gonna read it because I don't want to mess it up. The name of it was Learning to Accept Yourself and Not Your Limitations. And what I saw in that was beautiful because they were talking about what was going on, and they said we're talking about self-worth as opposed to self-compassion, which I got very angry. I didn't like being attacked like that. I don't have any self-compassion, and you just need to leave it alone. That is what it is. But the other part of it was negative self-talk. And they said we'd like everyone to just discuss if at your table, if you're willing, what kind of negative self-talk you might hear or might say throughout your day, and then how you can change that, how you can alter that, how you can make that into a positive thing. And I feel like, because once that conversation started going, it took off.
Yeah.
Every table was just buzzing, just going back and forth, and they'd given us a big sheet of paper and a Sharpie to write everything down. And people were like, "No, no, give me the paper. I got to put this down. I got to put this down." And it was just a lot of energy involved in defining that negative self-talk, and then more importantly, finding a positive way to look at it. And it was just amazing. I think they could have let us go for an hour. If they'd have brought in snacks and drinks, I bet we could have gone all day. It was just an amazing thing of dads looking at each other and going, but you're not a bad dad. You're an amazing father. You do this and this and this. So yeah, you want to spend more time, one on one with each kid. Uh, and you say to yourself, I don't spend enough time with my kids individually. How do you change that? How do you alter that? What do you need to say about that to look at it as a positive? And it was incredible. And I'm not going to give anybody's answers, of course. It was an unrecorded part of the session, and we're we're giving everybody that place where they can say whatever they need without being exposed or whatever anybody else hearing it. But listening to our dads, our members, helping each other about the just day to day stresses, you know, of our five pillars, my favorite is community every single time, but second is support. The support we give each other at the convention through the mental health support groups, sure, but just in those one-on-one interactions, and then that big table of guys that are all also, well, I don't think I do that either. How can I get through it? How can I change it? I loved that.
Yeah.
And thank
No,
you,
it was
Amy,
definitely
for
good. It
hmm
was deep. It definitely cut straight to the point on things. Um, I will say too, at the same time, there were quite a few of us guys who felt like that it was uh for early in the morning. It was it was one of those deals where it took a lot to kind of get into it. Like they're kind of soft-spoken ladies in some ways. Until I forget who was the lady that was out walking around the floor?
Amy Adele.
Amy. Yeah. Amy grabbed my attention pretty quickly, just because of how she was moving around or whatnot. But um, I don't know, maybe it was a an early morning type of thing, because that
Yeah.
was a Saturday morning one, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So for some of us, we had just run a 5K and we were still feeling it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, it was definitely good. The activity, definitely sparked a lot of conversation. I think for the guys at my table, one person in particular shared a lot
Hmm.
and opened up, and like you said, support wise, like just he had a lot to say, and at the end, we all were just encouraging him to, take the next step and get some professional help, and
Hmm.
to not to
Awesome.
not one of the big things was that he feels that if he goes with like an online, that the people that he's talking with are really not paying attention to him, that they're maybe playing on
Yeah.
their computer or whatnot. And
Yeah.
I was like, I understand that. And we had a whole conversation about just the fact that, you know, the majority of professionals actually, they take the time, they do care. Like
Hmm.
you can't, you can't put them all in a box like that.
Right.
Also, too,
Right.
this person lives in the Bible Belt, and so they're like, I don't want Jesus crammed down my throat. And as someone who
Hmm.
has, that relationship with Jesus, like I understood it. I get it at the
Hmm.
same time. Like, yes, like I have my sort of view on that, but at the same time, too, like I completely understand when you ask for help, maybe you're not wanting a religious side to it, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. So,
And
uh,
being Christian, I think you can understand that there are times in our life when we're not ready.
yeah. Oh yeah,
We're just not,
definitely.
and
Yeah.
whatever that might be or wherever that might be for us.
Yeah. And I
So
and so
absolutely.
yeah, and I told him, I said, there definitely are other places out there to look, like just because you're in the Bible Belt, there are other I guarantee there are others out there. It just
Yes.
might take a little bit more to look around for it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was great. And actually I had some interactions with that person even afterwards, and I think it was really just kind of set up that way for me to cross paths with them a few more times before leaving, and just basically kind of saying, hey, like, still gonna go get, you're still gonna do what you said you were gonna do, and
Hmm.
just having a conversation. So I think that that's very key to when someone says something like that, to not just like throw it off to the side, but actually, just be like, hey, like I actually was listening, like I really care. I really want to make
Yeah.
sure that we go through with this and do it. So yeah,
All
so that
right.
was really,
So
that was good.
favorite personal interaction.
Ooh, favorite personal interaction.
And you can't say Aaron
Um,
Smith because we already talked about him.
I can't say Aaron Smith. Nope.
I can start if you want time to, because
Yeah,
this
why
is a
don't you?
hard one. This is a hard one.
It is a hard one. I'll say it's a hard one for me. We'll just say this, like, and then I'll let you go. Is that for me, it was difficult because this year I made a poignant effort to actually like slow down and interact with everybody, as many as I could,
Yeah.
but in a positive way. And because in years past, I was like, go, 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 go. And when I got free time, I was like, peace out. I'm gonna go hide, which I
Yeah.
did go hide a little bit, but I did spend quite a bit of time with people. So go ahead, tell me who
Hmm.
was your favorite interaction with.
I have two, so
That's
I'm going to
good,
take a
good,
little more
because I
time.
will have two as well.
Good, good. First and foremost, and my man Steve Wenzel. Steve came to
Oh, I
Jeremy's
love Steve.
house. He showed up, and as soon as I saw him, I'm like, Steve, and the guys were, I'm like, what, where? And he was there the whole time, and that was just cool. But I sat down with him at another point in the convention, and it was just him and me and him. And I'm not going to go into what we talked about. That's his story to tell. But
Yeah.
it was just a very enlightening and for me encouraging conversation. Steve, I love you, man. I can't wait to see you again. But more that I can talk about, I feel like, is Dan Dreffen. And
Oh,
Dan, known him for just at the convention too. I mean, we hardly ever talk outside the convention, but every time I see him, it's just like no time has passed. And I don't know how I got there, but he was eating breakfast and I was just trying to talk to other people. So I just like, hey, can I sit down here? So I sit down with him and we start talking. We start talking about uh, just life in general. He was a sheriff for a very long time. So he's former LEO. He runs a financials business, I believe, at this point. And we're have a conversation for 20, maybe 30 minutes. And I want to say something that I don't want anyone to be upset by. This is just how I am. I don't feel safe talking to people. I don't feel safe with my back to an open area. I need to sit against the wall and I feel better. And if I do have an open area, I'm constantly swiveling, looking, trying peripheral vision. Who's that behind me? What are those footsteps? What is that noise? Just to kind of, I'm just a little paranoid. I mean, my PTSD does that. And it's cool, but it's also draining. It's just very, very hard to be hyper aware all day long. So, I mitigate it. Like I said, I go sit in the corner. I sit my back to the wall. I do what I need to do. But I sat there with Dan and we'd had that conversation. We had to speak for at least 20 minutes, maybe 30. And I realized, and I told him this, I said, I have not worried for one moment what was behind me while we were sitting here. And I've been watching behind him, but everything behind me, I only had to look once or twice when someone like got close enough that I could kind of tell they were within like 2 feet of me or whatever. But I knew that Dan's got my back because again, former LEO, he's just so vigilant about so many things, and I felt really safe. And for me, that was one of the most important interactions I had of the convention, and I might cry, but it was so rare for me to feel that relaxation, that safety. And I got to say, it touched my heart in a way that nothing else could, because that was just such an intimate thing for me to
Yeah.
be able to relax and to calm down and be like, yeah, I don't have to worry about anything. My back is covered. So
That's awesome. Yeah,
that
no,
was
I
my
got
big
to
moment.
spend a little bit of time talking to him too. And I had never really had that time, and
Hmm.
he's definitely a joy to speak with, that's for sure.
He
So
is, yeah.
definitely. For me, mine are like mine were kind of like group interactions. So I had the opportunity to be on another episode of the Country Music Dads podcast,
Hmm.
but it wasn't just Mick and David. It was Chris Griffin and Max Shepard and Nick Weiss were all on the show with us, and we were talking about Chris Stapleton and Ryan Bingham, a couple country music singers, and their bourbons that they have out, and just that whole conversation going around the table with them was so much fun, and just a great time to just have this like interaction talking about music and bourbon, and just it was just so much fun. I can't wait to hear the episode and see how it all comes out, because I imagine it was going to be interesting to edit just because of the fact we had one microphone being shared around
Oh yeah.
the
Yeah.
entire table, but lots of laughs, lots of great insight into things. So that was a lot of fun. That was right after the convention ended, actually. So that was cool. And then the other interaction that I had was. So there was a gentleman two guys actually, who brand new to the convention, brand new to the organization. Tommy, I think it's Roy. Is that his
Roy.
last name?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Tommy Roy from Michigan. And James, I can't think of James's last name. He's an older gentleman from New York. Um,
Floor.
yeah, that's right, Floor. Yeah,
Is it
okay.
James Floor? I don't
I
know.
think so. Yeah. So those two guys, they came to the convention, and so I met James, I think at like breakfast or something like that. He was wearing like a mini or like a minor league baseball cap or whatever,
Hmm.
and so we got to talking about that. And Tommy and I think just sort of like crossed paths, but like we kept coming together at different times. Like I got to have lunch with them, and on Saturday was hilarious because on Saturday Tommy's wearing a Michigan shirt,
Uh-huh.
and James saw him and went back upstairs and put on an OSU shirt. So, because that's a huge rivalry,
Those,
Michigan and
yeah, some
Ohio
of the
State
rivals. Yeah.
University, big rivalry for football. And so
Right.
it
Hey,
was
if we're gonna
so
do this, I'm gonna do this. Yeah.
right, yeah. And so like I'm in line and I see these two and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's gonna go down. This is hilarious. And then they sit down at the table together side by side, like, just two best friends hanging
It's
out. And I
sweet.
took a picture of the two of them because I was just like, I don't even know when I've ever seen two people that are from the opposite sides actually sit down and there's no
Yeah.
fighting involved.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Although
need a
they do know
picture.
their
Yeah.
although they do know their sports stuff. And boy, did we all of us were going back and forth. And there was even like I'm an IU guy, so like there was conversation in there because Jonathan, I can't think of his last name either, was coming up and having a conversation. But those two guys, I really enjoyed talking with them. Tommy and I were talking about like, hey, like, I'm thinking about bringing my family up to Michigan. Oh, you should come hang out, like, because it's just kind of where he lives at, just like south of Detroit or whatever. And I was like, you should come down to Cincinnati. Like, so we were just like inviting each other to like our areas, which was really cool. And then with James, like, he was telling us, I've been a stay-at-home dad for 20 years. Like I've been doing this sort of like by myself, didn't know this group even existed and didn't
Right.
realize how much I needed this. And he
Yeah.
came up to me at the end after we closed and was just like, this was such a refreshing like experience. Um I could not believe that this is what this was going to be. And he's like, I love what he says. He goes, I feel like I found my tribe. Like those were his words. And I'm like,
Hmm.
dude, like you fit so well into this
Yeah.
group.
Yeah.
So, and he's just really excited to like get involved even more. And so for me, like just getting to interact with those new guys and see just this joy of like, oh my gosh, like there is you're real kind of deal.
Right.
But at the
Yeah.
same time, like, I can get something out of this. And I think I love the fact that James, for as old as he is, because his oldest is like 38.
Hmm.
So, for him to be an older dad and still finding ways to connect with everybody, it was just refreshing. So those
He
were
might be
those
older
were
than
my
me.
he probably is older than you.
Might be. Yeah. Yeah. If he's 38 and he had his first kid maybe at 20, that would be cool. 58. Not
Yeah.
as old as Tony Hernandez, but still up there. I
Shoot, dang.
told Tony he's got to keep coming because I don't want to be the oldest dad at this convention. But yeah, that is awesome. I didn't even get to talk to him, I don't think. So that is amazing. I love to hear that story too. And like you
Yeah.
said, you have a different, I don't know how to say it, you have a very different understanding of parenting once your kids go out into the world. And especially if they start having kids, they become a parent. Because I have to believe that a lot of what you did with and for your kid reflects back. And you
Hmm.
see them, how they're getting a job or how they're dealing with the classes or how they're dealing with their partner or how they're dealing with kids. And
Yeah.
you can look at it and go, oh man, yeah, I taught that kid that, whether it's good or bad,
Yeah.
and being able to reflect on that you finally see that return on investment of all those years of reading to them at night and telling them you love them and all those other things. So
Oh, I just got a live action text message from a live listener in my house asking what was the most unexpected thing that happened at HomeDadCon.
you couldn't ask this person to ask this like last week when we had time to think about it, man. I don't know. Do you have something? Do you have something? Because
An
I'll have to think.
unexpected thing that took place. I don't know, man. Like, um, you know what? I know what it is. The thing that I found that I really enjoyed that was unexpected. There were two of them actually. So Ariel Eisenberg came up to me and said, "You won't believe what just happened. Somebody gifted me a lifetime membership."
Yeah,
And
awesome.
I was like, wow, that's amazing. And
Yeah.
like we talked about that for a while. And then uh later you had the announcement that somebody during the membership drive donated a lifetime membership and the board chose somebody based upon last year coming to the convention and how
Hmm.
they got involved with
Dane
the
Sandus.
organization. Yeah, and so and then giving that to Dane, which like perfect guy, honestly. Like just I enjoyed getting to meet him. I picked him up unexpectedly at the
Yeah.
airport too because he came in at the same time as Joe and Brian. I was like, I got room in my car. Let's go, guys.
Yeah.
Um,
And
but
I
th
I want
those
to
would be the
say,
two.
sorry, I interrupt. I apologize.
You're fine.
Dane, I'm so glad. And I don't care about his lifetime membership. That's cool too. But I'm so glad because I've been able to push him into taking over game night and bringing game night at the convention because I don't have the time. And I won't have the time, at least for another 3 years, to really get into the gaming. And he was running it like a champ. And the
I,
guys playing in his D&D game, man. I mean, again, you don't want to out anybody, but I know one of these guys, and every time I've talked to him online, he's just, yeah, man, well, it's this, and he's very, very like almost introverted and quiet. And maybe this is my big surprise. And he's at the table playing D&D and he is loud and he is boisterous and he's like,
yes.
Travis, whatever. And I'm like, all right, Dane, I don't know what you did, man, but this guy is not the guy that I know so far. Even talking to him in person, that was a big surprise. But I think for me, the dresser build. And I don't know
Mm,
why I should be more positive about this. I should not be surprised by this because our dads rock. I mean, what else could I have expected? Why did I think it couldn't get done? Because we went from having like 20 to having 50, and I kept saying that word 50. We're going to build 50. We don't have enough tools. I went out and bought more hammers and some 10 and ones and brought a couple of drills from home, little tiny, 3 volt, and we had more dads in there than we had room for. They were building them on the tables, they were building them all over on the floor. Everybody was doing it, and we had that done over an hour and a half before they were going to be picked up.
I
And
will
I
say
thought,
though, I
yeah,
gotta say though, we got to give a big thanks to a couple of late night cobbler elves
true, true. They
who
got like five or
who
six
who
done.
used their thieves tools to get into and their charisma. They must have rolled a D20 nat. It's
Look at
because
you. That's adorable.
I know I'm trying.
I'm gonna do
Um,
sports stuff next time. I'm gonna do sports stuff next time.
Oh yeah,
But
let's
go.
do it. Let's do it. But
Let's
no, like
branch out.
they were able to get into the room where all the dressers were, and were actually able to start putting some of them
Yeah.
together late
We
at night because they were like, I'm not a morning person,
right,
so
right.
like you want
We
to
were
do
at
this? Let's
we were
do
at
this.
the barbecue place. We were having karaoke, and Nick's like, "I'm going back to the hotel." And I'm like, "Oh, everything all right?" He goes, "Yeah, these guys want to work now because they're not going to be up at 6, 7, 8 in the morning." And Daniel still was I mean, but he was there that night. He got them all together. Nick got everybody in the room,
Yeah,
and they built, I think, 5 or 6 dressers to
yeah,
start us out, and that was amazing. And then, yeah, I mean, we knocked them out. It was hilarious because they were the only talking was people saying, "Who's got that hammer? Who's got that screw? We got a screw? I need a flathead over here." And it was just beautiful. It was chaotic. And we had a couple of times where we had people come in that just there was no place for them to work, you know.
yes, yeah,
But we did it and it was amazing. And we had guys also that loaded it up. And we're going to sort through those photos, honestly. And every year it's called the Nonprofit Insurance Alliance, and they have a photo contest. And this year, their photo contest is about community.
oh
And we're
wow,
going to go through those photos and find one or two that we can submit, probably just one because they only take one entry, that we can submit to that contest because it was truly a community of dads coming together to build things for a community, a local community that doesn't have access to furniture sometimes.
yeah.
They just don't have the ability to buy dressers for their kids. And man, I'm building a post somewhere. I'm gonna try to get everybody's name that was there. I've got almost everybody done, and just put out a thank you.
It was
And just say it
awesome.
was
Yeah,
amazing. So that was,
I
and it was unexpected. I should have expected. I should have had confidence in our dads. But 50 dressers, man.
I will say this too. The other thing, I was trying to pull it up here on my phone. I just want to give a big thanks to a couple of news outlets who covered our
Hmm.
group being in town.
Hmm.
Unlike any other, like we've had different publicity, but man, the story that First Alert 4 put out, the video and they're
Hmm.
coming in and stuff was I saw them in the room. I didn't know exactly what was going on, and I honestly like it was just fun to just have them in there, and they were moving around and whatnot. And I didn't realize the one guy was mic'd up. and he was talking to everybody. But in the video, it's hilarious. Just how they covered it. I love the fact that they asked Daniel Wilkinson like what the thing is on the floor, and he says, "I don't know, trash." Like, and it's the instructions for how to build the dressers. Which I think after all of us had built like one or two, we were just like, okay, we get this. Like every time it was just like throw the thing in the back and just go for it. Because I know Chris
Yeah.
Griffin and I had like an assembly line set up of how we were doing
Hmm.
everything. I felt like a NASCAR guy taking lug nuts
Right.
off a tire because we would set up.
Yeah.
I'd set up all the screws for the tracks or whatever. Just like
Yeah. Yeah.
walk up to me, like, can I just borrow that for just like 30 seconds? They're like,
Yeah.
what? I'm like, just I'll get it back to you.
I got 6 screws to pin in. That's 30 seconds. Let's go. Zip, zip, zip. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I thought that was great. And then the other, there was another article from the local Fox 2, Fox affiliate. And so they put out an article. So just those two were great. But I said like the video was just so neat to see, and um, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. It wasn't that difficult to do really.
Hmm.
But man, I wish that there were more in the instructions about what you needed, so that
Right.
we didn't get put
Maybe we
into
could
because you
all
researched
had,
that.
yeah,
I
I
know
looked
you
up and
researched
they
it.
said, yeah, all you, and I'm like, okay, so I'm going to buy two of the little $10 4-volt drills with the set of bits because that's all we need. It's just that I think it was a 2 millimeter bit or whatever it was, the
Yeah.
Allen wrench, and we're good. No, no, we are not, in fact, good. The first thing we needed was a Phillips head screwdriver, and not just like one screw, but I think it was two per track.
Yeah,
So
it was.
that's 12
Yeah.
screws you got to put in, two for each side. I was like, okay, okay, this is not going to work. We need more. And so, and what was awesome is there's a hardware store in downtown St. Louis.
Oh, that was
It's
helpful.
open at 6 o'clock. And I didn't go to Lowe's or anything like that, which I'm actually happy about. I want to do, we want to support local as much as we can. I went straight to him, and the guy's like, "Yeah, yeah, we got right here." And he only had two of the Stanleys, and I don't love Stanley products, but it is a little bit better than sometimes she would. But I got, I think there was two, three, no, two hammers, a couple of Stanley 10-in-1s, and two of the just cheaper 10-in-1s. I didn't get them all back, and I'm fine with that because I don't need those things. I don't know what I'm going to do with them now. They were like, "Oh, Danny, you got to get your tools back." I'm like, "Can't somebody take a hammer home? Come on, somebody take a hammer home."
I was gonna
But
say, I think they got
I got enough
distributed.
hammers. Yeah, I got some, but I'm glad. I'm glad anybody that has one that you feel in any way guilty, you help me out because yeah.
So the last thing I want to touch on before we go, because we worked really hard on all of that, was afterwards most of us were really hungry, and so we got to eat some amazing foods. And I just want to basically give props to Chris Griffin for
Mhm.
just knocking food out of the park for the event, because
Yes.
Matt Strain has done it for multiple years on end. He was very very happy to hand it over.
Very happy. Yeah.
And but at the same time too, it did not take away at all from Chris taking it on. He kept the bar high,
Hmm.
and just really brought in some amazing foods, got some even local catering. And I think that's the thing, like Keith pointed on, was the fact that just the way the Drury took care of us, and the
Yeah.
ability to bring in food from outside, and how that worked out. Like if we can get that at every Drury hotel, like that's gonna just
And
be fabulous.
they cleaned up for us,
Yeah.
which is not their job. It was not in the contract. We had no expectations that they do it. We did have a little bit of food left over. So I went in and said, I don't know if y'all have staff or a break room or something, if y'all want this. Some of it's already been open, so maybe you don't, but if you want to come look at it. And he goes, just leave it there. We'll come take a look. And I'm like, well, okay, let us know when you're done and we'll come clean it up. He goes, no, no, we'll clean it up. I'm like, no, you can't do that. That's one, we're at home dads. We got to clean, man. I said, we'll at least do the tables, just no, we'll take care of all of it. And I'm like, that is not. And then they gave us snacks upstairs, like the bagels and the pretzels and the little muffins. That was not a part of our contract, our food and beverage at all. They just did it. And if we could get, I got to say, we need to go to that jury every 3, 4 years. We just need to come back to them and give them that business because they were above and beyond. in so
I
many
would be
ways.
sad to go back to St. Louis again.
Yeah. Well,
I feel
we're
like I did not. I feel like we only just scratched the surface on what's actually there.
exactly. And if you think about it, if we return to the same city, then we have a relationship with the vendors, like the hotel. We
Yeah.
also know the local restaurants, and not only ones that we try, but ones we didn't get to try. We know
Hmm.
things like City Museum is amazing, and we know that we can go there all day and ride the slides and go down the caves and all those things. And we have an understanding of what that city offers.
Yeah.
Um, and then we have put forward on the board an idea of rotating 4 or 5 cities. Just that's where we're going next year. That's where we're going next year. That's where we're going. And it would be so much easier as a convention planner to know, okay, so who did we talk to then? Okay, well this person. All right, well let's call them up and see where they're at and what's going on.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It may not happen because we have to really get cities that are spread out. We can't just stay like in the Midwest. We do want something in the South, something in the North, something East, something West,
Sure.
something
Yeah.
Central. But we'll see. We'll see. Because a
That's
lot of those
cool.
places are expensive. So
Definitely. Well, it was a great convention. Definitely
absolutely.
looking forward to the next one. And, there seems to be quite a buzz already for that. And I think too, probably part of the helped was the swag stuff. And I think we can get into more of
Mhm.
that later because
Yeah.
that's a whole nother that's a whole nother conversation. But um, yeah, I basically I guess on behalf of those outside of the board, like part of the normal folk of the
Right.
organization.
It's a weird
Congratulations.
experience, isn't it?
Yeah, congratulations seriously to the entire planning committee for everything that you guys did and are continuing to do to grow this convention. I only see bigger and better things happening, and just with the growth of the board and the different things that are going on there as well. This there's a trajectory that I would have never expected to have
Hmm.
seen. When I joined 7 years ago, it seemed like there was almost like a flat line that had taken place, and then just over the past few years, like something has shocked the system and really sent things in a way that's going to grow this into being want to say the organization that probably those back in the day hoped and thought that it would get to. And people are always like, "Oh, you've been around for 30 years." And it's like, yeah, and we've had to grind through, and here we are now, like in a place where we're actually being seen and we're really getting ourselves out there in a way that's positive, and we're getting guys who are like, oh, there's this organization for something that I do and didn't know that
Hmm.
I was, you know, that kind of thing. So, super excited for that and very just grateful for everything that everybody's done and is continuing to do for the organization. So
Me
that's
too.
a yeah,
Thank you, everybody.
definitely. Well, hey, that's all we got for this show. Although there is more, but you can only talk so long before you get bored of our voices. So we will end this episode, and we will be back next week with, I believe we have a guest next week. So that'll be a lot of fun, and we'll just keep bringing you good content. So until next time, have a good one.
Good night, everybody.
I'm a dad, that's what I do.